Welcome everybody to Echo Means Business. We're doing a home lawn and garden month thing special, and we're going to talk to you about WaterWise. Correct, Barbara?
We are talking about being water wise, yes. And
All right, we're okay. I'm out in the field. I see you're in your office. So let me ask you, what kind of company are you? And talk to me a little bit about your company.
okay, we are a company that manufactures planters and some other gardening products, but we're known for our planters. And I came to Crescent Garden as a landscaper, so I had, I was out in the field doing, what so many of the people who are watching us doing, and ended up with a niche in container gardening, and discovered Crescent, and that's how I ended up joining with them. So I love their products. Great company, lightweight, decorative. So and we have a self-watering option, which is part of why I wanted to talk about this, with being water wise. So one of the things that I wanted to ask the people that are listening is, do they do container gardening? And if they don't, I'm thinking a lot of times one of the holdups for people doing container gardening is that they are worried about having to get the manpower to water, or maybe don't even know how to get started. So that's kind of a long answer to your question. So
No, I understand. We do container gardens. I'm actually at one of our sites right now that we actually change out the container plants throughout the year, 3 times a year. So, water is a big issue when it comes to watering. I know we use a drip irrigation system that is actually attached to the main irrigation system. But what are the best types that do you know of that, I mean, you were talking about, it is hard to have manpower to water these things. So what do you guys offer, or is there a easy way to keep the water up on this type of stuff? How do you approach
yeah,
that?
so adding irrigation is a really good option, but unfortunately that's not always an option, because you're putting, especially if you're doing streetscapes or you're doing commercial areas, you're having to worry about, where can I, do I have to get a water truck? Is there, a lot of these commercial places have the little keys that you have to use to attach the hoses. So we came up with a self-watering option that's called our True Drop planter.
Okay.
But if you don't mind, let me just kind of back up a little bit about why people would even want to do container gardens, because I feel like it's a missed opportunity.
Oh yeah.
And 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 just a little of my history was, I was hired by a large construction company, I mean a large development company, who was developing these neighborhoods, and they wanted to be known, they wanted to be distinctive in their horticulture. They wanted people to come to their communities because they did beautiful work, but also because their horticulture was distinctive. And they did a great job. I mean, they had beautiful, beautiful plants. They had great people who were maintaining it. But the thing that took them to the next level, where people were actually coming to their communities and driving around the communities, was when we started doing containers. And one of the biggest issues that we were dealing with, and as I learned from the get-go, was, how do I keep these things watered? Because, when it comes down to making a profit, if you're using up your man hours and watering, that eats into your profitability. So to make containers profitable, one, you need to use the right kind of plants. And so, I'd love for you to talk about the kind of plants that you use, because you obviously do this a lot.
Yeah, I mean, we use all kinds of stuff. I mean, we change out between these. We have a winter brand, and right now, right, what we call it, and it's pretty much we put in arborvitaes and we put in spruces and stuff like that right now, and then we kind of change up to our springtime here in probably another month, to where we put in all kinds of flowers and a little bit of uh, you know pizzazz into it to kind of keep the color throughout the summer. And then we change in the around October, and we put in some pumpkins, some little pumpkins, and some more oranges, flowers, and grasses, just to kind of give it that fall feel to everything. So that's what we kind of do.
Scott, where are you?
We are in Ohio, so
Okay.
we do a lot of stuff right in Northwest Ohio. So
Yeah.
we do. Like I said, we're at one right now that we're cleaning it all out and kind of getting it ready. So for the springtime stuff. So it's a good income for anybody that kind of wants to add stuff. We got into it because one of our customers wanted something on their deck, a pot with some plants in it, and they knew that we were good at, planting all their landscaping. So they wanted something in there that, gave them color instead of just sitting around. So,
yeah. So having the right kind of plants, so like you were saying, arborvitaes, in the summertime, using things instead, everybody loves petunias. I mean, it's kind of hard not to love a petunia. But they're going to be more thirsty. You're going to have to keep them watered a little bit more. So using things using some of your more tropical plants like a mandevilla, dipladenia. A lot of people love ferns and are not even aware that the Kimberly Queen fern is a fabulous fern to use, and you can use that in full sun. You don't have to. I mean, it can go a long time without being watered. So using the right kind of plants. The other thing to help it, with watering issues is using a double wall planter. You've got that air cushion, and it will protect it from the heat. If you've ever gone up and touched a planter in the middle of the summertime that's been out in full sun, you can almost burn your hand, especially if it's a dark color. So, so having a double wall in your, in a planter. And again, using a self-watering planter, something that has a reservoir in the bottom of it, is a great way to, to just keep it watered without having to come back every day. So one of the things that, when you're thinking about, okay, so how does this work? Keeping planters watered. If you've got something that's self-watering, or if you've got irrigation, one of the things we had we could have our crew people, instead of thinking, okay, I've got to send somebody out, have my own little watering crew. If you've got crews that are going to different properties once a week to mow, if they can go and check if you've got irrigation added onto it, get them to check the irrigation, make sure it's working, because that's probably one of the, you get some little bits of dirt in there that'll clog them up, or, a squirrel chewed on it or something, who knows, or some kid pulled it out, all those kind of things. So, just that's part of what they do when they go and mow. If you've got a self-watering option, like our True Drop planters, and I'll show you a couple of pictures in a few minutes, but, of the True Drop planters, but it has a little indicator button on it, that can tell you when you need to add water. And so you can go for at least a week. I mean, we have people telling us they go, we've had people talk about going 2 or 3 weeks, but in the middle of the summer, you can at least go a week. And another thing and this is where it's really important to, people say, oh, I want a planter. They see this cute little planter. This looks great. Go with the big stuff. The bigger the planter, the more soil. And then, people ask about, well, do I have to fill the whole thing up with soil? And when I first started doing this, I did experiments where we went halfway in, or, quarter of the way in, and just put, stuff on the bottom and then put soil on top of it. And then we put soil all the way through, or filled up another container with all the way through. I'm not even saying that right. What I'm saying. I filled it all the way up with soil, with, potting soil. And that's I'll throw that in too. Make sure you use a good quality potting soil. Right. But the ones that were filled with soil completely could go at least 2 or 3 days longer the bigger planters could go 2 or 3 days longer, because as the plant roots grow down, it dries from the top up. So in a big old planter, you're going to, it's going to take several days for the bottom, if they've been watered well, it's going to take several days before that bottom part dries out. So, when you're in the middle of the summer, make sure that, if you don't have that self-watering planter, make sure that whoever waters it well, deeply, so that all the soil absorbs the water. And then make sure it's planted make sure that the soil goes all the way to the bottom, so that it's, those roots can take advantage of that water that's at the bottom. So.
Correct. I mean, I agree with that. I mean, watering it thoroughly. I noticed that a lot of the planters that we use, that we fill all the way with dirt, definitely last longer without in between waterings. So that it definitely filling it up the right way. We use organic topsoil, so we want to make sure that it's filled in real good. And then we kind of refresh it every spring when we actually add in new plants in our springtime planting. So we kind of add in a little bit more fertilizer and stuff to kind of help everything grow throughout the season better that way too. So yeah, that's definitely. Now, so you said you have these self-watering planters, okay, at your place. Tell me, like, you said something like there's an indicator button on them and stuff. So how does that totally work?
Well, if I can get our people who are helping us pull up our little video, I've got a little video, and it's just about, we'll just look at the first minute of it. Let's see, can y'all do that? Let's see. There we go. Okay. So there's the indicator button right here. And
everyone wants beautiful, thriving plants, but keeping up with them can be difficult and time-consuming. That's why we created a container that keeps your plants watered for weeks at a time. Introducing the TrueDrop Self-Watering Planter, a foolproof way to grow stronger, healthier plants by giving them exactly what they need when they need it. The TrueDrop self-watering system uses the same irrigation process as professional greenhouses to keep your plants well hydrated and nourished. The reservoir built into the double wall container waters your plants from the roots up, allowing them to take in just the amount of water they need to thrive. The results are bigger, healthier plants with beautiful, lush flowers and leaves.
So that's what I mean. It's got a little indicator button, and and just so, because I'm talking to a lot of people out there, I love our products, but there are, you've got, you do have other things that, other products that'll have like a little thing that pops up that'll tell you when it needs to be watered. Those are helpful. But what I like about ours is it doesn't pop up out of there, so it doesn't get broken off. So anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I like that, the whole system. I mean, double walled would probably save a lot, especially at some of our bigger properties. Like you said, on, like where the cities have, just, planters out of the middle of a, streetway. That definitely helps out in a long way, having to go, instead of having to have a crew member go water daily or every other day, to have it to be able to have water in it for a week at a time is going to help out a long run. And that saves man hours. It saves, water in the long way too, some ways. So, what about, I know a lot of people are going, Jar Landscaping had asked about like planter gardens. People are starting to do that too. So is that, do we want to keep watering it just as much as like a flowering plant, do you think?
Okay, so I'm not sure I know what the question is. So you're saying,
like, I've seen a lot of people wanting to do vegetable gardens and planters instead of like flowers.
Yes.
So, would you want to keep it watered just as much?
It depends on what you're growing, what vegetables you're growing. A lot of your vegetables and herbs and things like that like to be on the drier side. In fact, it's kind of hard to think of anything that really likes to stay more on the moist side. So that is a good option. And when I was doing landscaping, That actually became a very popular thing in commercials, in commercial properties, like restaurants would want to have, even if they didn't use it with their cooking. It was kind of a nice presentation to have containers out there with different herbs and things in it. There's an organization or a group of people called Digging In, and they are a group of professional container gardening. I mean, all they do is container gardening. And one of the things that they're finding is that a lot of homeowners love having somebody come in and plant up a vegetable garden for them, in their planters, and give them, just kind of help them know how to, a lot of the homeowner will end up taking care of the planter, but that's kind of a missed business opportunity to be able to come in and, plant up a bunch of vegetables or herbs and things for people. Everybody loves the beautiful ones, but that practical one, especially during COVID, growing your own herbs and vegetables is great. Again, that was a very long answer to your question, but that is a great way to not have to water as much as by, growing edibles in there.
Right. I agree with you. I mean, I see that a lot. Like you said, when COVID kind of hit, we had a lot of people that wanted to grow their own vegetables. So they contacted us because in our area, it was kind of hard to find vegetable plants. So we were gladly to provide them with plants and make beds for them. We did a lot of raised garden beds, so that helped out, and a lot of people enjoy it. So, I mean, growing your own is definitely a good thing. Even if you do it in a pot or in a container, anywhere, somewhere that you can do it. So thank you for the answer on that one. So you have all kinds of different planters at your place, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
And most of them are all self-watering, or do you guys sell just regular planters at Crescent Garden?
We sell regular planters. In fact, in your area, we've got quite a few of our regular planters at the like the Cleveland Botanical Garden, a lot of the streetscapes around there. So, using like and ours are plastic. They're a rotomold product, so they're very durable. They've got like a 10-year warranty on them against fading and cracking. So you can leave them out year round. But for doing like the vegetable gardens and things like that, that if it's not a self-watering planter, having a double wall is going to be a really helpful thing, because your vegetables, you're going to be growing those in the middle of the summer, and you really want to protect those roots from from drying out. So, that's just another good option, for doing the vegetable gardens.
Okay. So if anybody wanted to buy your stuff, where could somebody go to find your guys' planters?
Well, we sell to garden centers around town. We've got a website, but we also sell directly to landscapers. So they can contact us and say, and the nice thing about selling to the landscape directly is that you're not going to have a minimum that you have to order. It's going to have the freight included in there. So, you can just, if you go to our website, it'll say there's a place where you can go in and you can ask for, to be sent a catalog or to have somebody contact you. So thank you for asking about that.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for being on. One last question. I don't know if there's any other questions out there. If anybody has any questions, definitely post it right now, and we'll try to get it up or ask you, or we can come back and ask you at another time. One last question. So watering, you're saying your double wall planters are the best, correct? Or
of course.
Yeah. Okay. So that's, I mean, definitely I want to know this, so that way when when I'm selling, definitely I can, definitely sell your product and, let everybody know that double walls are going to be better than just, the regular planter that I get at Home Depot. So, I wanted to make sure that that's the best way we can go. So yeah. Thank you on that. how would you say is the easiest way to, would you leave the planters out throughout the year or would you want to bring them in? I mean, is there a way to empty that water out if there's water left in that?
There is there's a plug at the bottom. It also, our planters also have an overflow valve so that, if they're left out in the rain, it'll have the opportunity to go through the overflow valve. But in your area, in areas where you freeze, it has a plug, so you want to drain it. That's kind of one of those things that, people are starting to want to have planters year round. Now, you mentioned that you do like an arborvitae. Do you do like cut greenery or anything like that?
Yeah. During the winter, we cut spruces and pines, and then we kind of cut up some leftover perennials and kind of post them in there, so that way it gives it some darker colors too. So that way we only plant like smaller arborvitaes. We get to pretty much, they're only like a foot tall, just to kind of give us some height, and then we kind of do cut up greenery to put around it to kind of give it some more fill in. So because we want our planters to fill totally full. I mean,
yeah,
even in the spring, we go ahead and we fill them through. I mean, we know that stuff does die, stuff does change, but we want it to, by the middle of the summer, to be so full that it's overflowing, that that customer is going to be totally excited that they went with us. And we don't want just 1-2 little plants in it. Some of our customers will call us and say, oh, we want a pot, and they'll go to a garden center and it's like $40, and they'll call to me and I'll come out and I'll be like, well, with your pot, everything else, you're looking at $100 a pot. And they're like, well, why? And I'll say, well, take a look at my pictures. You'll see from here to here, it's going to be 10 times as fuller than what you're buying at a plant center. So a lot of times the customers will go with us and notice that we have that to make it look good throughout the year. So, and we come out and we definitely come back out every couple of weeks and check on everything just to make sure that everything's growing good and continuously growing. So that's one thing that we provide all our customers.
Yeah, that's awesome. I noticed there's a question down here about we've heard of people adding rocks to the bottom of planting containers to improve drainage. That was actually something that people did before good quality potting soil was if you're using years ago when people would put just regular garden dirt in their planters, that was so heavy they needed something at the bottom of it. But using a good quality potting soil makes all the difference. And that's where I was talking about, where if you can plant all the way down to the bottom, not plant all the way down to the bottom, fill the planter with soil all the way, the whole way, then your roots are going to have that opportunity to go all the way to the bottom, where the reservoir of, not the reservoir, but where, water is still at the bottom. Also, having a saucer, if you don't have a self-watering planter, if you add a saucer to your planter that's got like an inch or an inch and a half, maybe 2 inches lip on it, having that little bit of extra water in that saucer, like after they've watered and it's collected some water at the bottom, as the roots go down, obviously they're going to draw water from your potting soil, but having that little bit will keep wicking up so that soil still stays a little bit damp. So that's another little thing that you can actually get a couple of days longer between waterings by just having a saucer underneath your planter. So.
Nice. Thank you for all that tip. As far as I know, do you have anything else you would like to add?
I think just with, the whole issue of watering, having, to make it profitable, to make containers gardening, that add-on profitable with the watering issue. The three things that, and I mentioned this, but I just kind of want to make it careful, is using good quality potting soil, using, having that double wall to protect the roots from not only from heat, but also in the wintertime, to protect the roots during the wintertime. That's not a watering issue, but just a protection issue. And then just, having your water source, either having a good water source close by, or having a self-watering planter. Those are the things that are going to make it profitable, because if you're having to invest in, a watering truck, or you're having to, add irrigation, which can be expensive or sometimes impossible, then, that takes out that profitability of that planter for that company.
Great. Well, I want to thank you for being on, Barbara. If you guys need anything, hit Crescent Garden up and they can send you some information on their planters. I'm assuming so.
Yeah.
And there's there's plenty of places that sell their planters, I'm assuming, throughout the United States, correct?
Oh yes, definitely. And I was going to, let's see, how much time do we have left? If we've got a second left, I was going to show a couple of pictures. Can you bring up the PDF? And again, these are our planters, but it just shows you the difference that adding a few planters and it's a great add-on. It's a great, it's a great way to distinguish yourself. It's kind of like, so if you go down to, let's start at slide number 34. One of the ways that I encourage, when I talk to people in the industry, I say, you can make a beautiful landscape, and you're maybe known for making a beautiful landscape. But the things that's going to set you apart are going to be these, it's going to be your annual flowers. It's going to be your containers. And it's your accessories. So what I remind people is you have to learn to accessorize, for a lot of people that's not in their mindset, but these are your accessories that just, set you apart from anybody else. So we'll just click through these real quickly, go into the 35. You can just see the difference that just adding, adding a few planters. 36, just click through these real fast. And, just see the difference that it makes just having some planters in there. So,
the one thing I like about adding planters is it adds depth to like a patio or a deck.
Yeah.
Anywhere where it's a lot of blank space and you don't have, but maybe, 5 chairs on a deck. If you add just that planter to it with, some flowers throughout the summer, it's going to add that depth to that patio. And like you said, accessorize everything, just like you do in your own house. You're going to, add things to your house to accessorize. And if you do that to your patio or your deck, it's just going to make it 10 times better for, when you're having those parties or having people over that, you just want to have a family cookout or something. So,
yeah. And it sets your company apart. It's such, people go, okay, man, they do a great job with all these other things, but there are a lot of people who do a good job, but these folks come in and they can, they make my place pop. So, yeah. So, thank y'all for having us or having me and, having Crescent Garden on here. And I'm excited to be a part of this. Y'all do a great job with, EMB does a great job with just getting good information out. Thankful to be a part.
Thank you for having us on. Thanking you, Barbara, for having on. Thank Crescent Garden, everybody. Like I said, if you need anything, find Crescent Garden online. And if not, they'll help you out with whatever they can. Follow us on IG and Facebook. Even go to echomeansbusiness.com, sign up, register, follow all the good stuff that's going on this month. There's all kinds of good stuff going on. Plenty of great talks. Like Barbara here, this was a great talk with you, Barbara. Thank you again for being on.
Thank you.